And welcome back. Continuing to work on the tailcone. In this video I'm working on the bulkheads. I believe we talked about in the last video that there are five of these bulkheads. Two or three of them are larger kind of rings, and then you have a couple in the aft end that will support the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical stabilizer, and the attachment points basically for those points onto the tailcone. And so after doing the typical priming and preparation for each piece, now you start to put it all together and assemble all the bulkheads into one, getting ready to start assembling the frame to the skins. For those that continue to watch these videos, I appreciate it. It's as I've said before, it's mostly entertainment for me to put these together. It's a record for myself, but also I enjoy kind of sharing the things that I'm doing. So if you have an interest, I highly recommend looking into it. It's a lot easier than it seems. I have very little experience in metalworking, and I'm an electrician by trade, so this is a little bit out of my realm, and it's pretty straightforward. Vans does it very well at making a kit and instructions that are very easy to follow along with. So if you have any kind of inkling whatsoever to do something like this, I would highly recommend it. Anyway, so continuing on to work on the framework for the tailcone. Right now I believe I'm working on the battery box pieces. It's the forward end of the tailcone, and it's a bracket that you assemble. You'll prepare to put nut plates and things like that and countersink some of the holes there, and in fact that's what I'm getting ready to do here. So once you're complete with the assembly of the bracket, then it'll rivet to a forward, I'll call it a bulkhead, but it's the mating point between the tailcone and the fuselage. And then it'll all attach to the bottom skin, and then there's some other stiffeners that you work on for the bottom skin, and then eventually you put everything together with the bulkheads. And then the nut plates are countersunk. The holes for the nut plates are countersunk, and it's on the top of the angle piece. So using a piece of wood, able to put it in the correct orientation to use it on a drill press, and decided I want to kind of get a little bit of close-up work here. So this is the drill press setup I have, and just going through, and like I said, you want to verify that everything is to the correct depth, and so I go through and just kind of slowly drill into the piece with the countersink tool, and just then make sure it looks right. I've gone through on a previous piece and had this set for the correct depth, so it's pretty quick to go through here. And then as you're going through, just you watching to make sure it's lined up and that it's countersinking the correct location. And then once you get everything countersunk, I always come back with a rivet just to make sure that I didn't go too shallow, too deep. And like I said, I go on the first pass, and I usually am on the conservative side for how deep I set the countersink tool. But for the most part, like I said, this one I had it set from a previous piece, and just going through and just verifying the rivet. And I find on these, I prefer to have it, if anything, just slightly over countersunk. I mean, I'm talking just a hair, so that way there's no edge that's sticking up that might create a gap between the mating surface when you go to put the skin or whatever piece may be going on top there. So anyway, continue on, just working on getting different parts ready, and it's, as I've talked about before, the tailcone section 10 here, is actually pretty straightforward. There's only a couple parts where I really had to double check what I was doing, or just to make sure I understood where it was going, but for the most part it was pretty straightforward. And any mistakes you make, the pieces are still relatively inexpensive. I actually had to reorder the aft bottom skin because I drilled the wrong hole by accident, and I'll explain that in the next video. But the part was, I want to say it was like 10 or 15 bucks, and then $10 or $15 for shipping. So relatively inexpensive if you make a mistake, for the most part. Now going through and setting up, these are the rudder guides on the this is the second bulkhead from the forward end of the tailcone, and the rudder cables will go through that bracket there on the bottom with the two holes, and it'll cross over as it goes forward. And some of these holes will eventually have grommets or plastic, I call them grommets, that you'll insert to protect cables or protect wires, things like that. But for now, just getting everything prepared. So as I'm editing this video, I have now got the tub of the tailcone complete. I'm just now working on the aft deck, where the horizontal stabilizer and the vertical stabilizer will actually mate up to. One thing that I had done is I had decided to make the inspection panels on the aft section of the skins flush, the screws for them flush mounted screws, instead of the standard screw. And so one thing that you have to realize when you do that is the kit, it comes with the standard hardware, the standard screws, and so they're not flush mounted screws. So if you decide that you do in fact want to make that optional modification, it's in the plans and it talks about it and shows you how to do it, which holes that need to be countersunk and whatnot. And it also talks about the fact that the kit does not come with the appropriate hardware, and you end up having to order it. So just keep that in mind if you get to that point and you're deciding which way you want to go. If you are going to do the flush mount, you are going to have to order the screws and the nut plates for it. Otherwise, you can use the standard screws, and all of that part, all of those pieces are included with the kit. I decided to go that way just more for consistency, just for the look. I've got everything else is flush mounted, so I decided why not have the inspection panels flush mounted as well. It's not really any other reasoning than that. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and let this video run out here. Again, I appreciate those who continue to watch these videos. If you have any comments or questions, by all means, leave them down below, and I'll try to get back with you with any information or answers that I can come up with. And otherwise, if you can do me a favor, hit that like button, and we will see you next time.